Welcome. Welcome to the ninth in a series of shows focused on Brookline as an age-friendly community. In 2012, the World Health Organization of the United Nations designated Brookline as an age-friendly city. It was the first city so designated in New England. The reason it was designated as an age-friendly city is all of the attributes that support age-friendliness in Brookline. And the way that occurs is the town residents themselves are conscious of it. The Brookline Selectmen, the town departments are responsive to age-friendly needs. And finally, we have a number of volunteer agencies and volunteer groups in town that actively support age-friendliness. Today, we're going to concentrate a little bit of a different focus. We're going to concentrate on a commission that serves Brookline residents of all ages. And that's the Brookline Commission on Disability. We're lucky to have as our guest today the new chair of the the Brookline Commission on Disability, Sarah Lynn Allaire, and we're going to discuss the commission and other resources in Brookline. Sarah Lynn herself has a disability based on arthritis. And Sarah Lynn has been studying and working with disability and work environments for her career. She's a research professor at the College of Health and Rehabilitation Sciences at Boston University. And Sarah Lynn is right now, in fact, working on a consulting assignment on research based on work and disability. Welcome, Sarah Lynn.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
I'm sorry, I didn't mention that you're a town meeting member and you're on our committee, which
Right.
is the Age Friendly Cities
Right.
Committee. Right. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
The first thing we were going to discuss is all of the various resources that someone might go to if they either, I would guess, I'm going to ask you, but if they have a disability, if they're bringing someone else who's has a disability, and what about if they don't have one, but they're expecting to develop one?
Well, that certainly would apply also. Family members certainly could use some of the resources as well, along with the person with a disability.
Okay, and how would they get about getting any kind of support?
Well, Brookline has 4 different resources or programs or equipment for people with disabilities of various ages. The first is a staff person called the ADA coordinator. And this person is a recent hire. Her name is Caitlin Haynes, and her contact information is on the screen. The ADA coordinator, as the name suggests, helps to carry out the mandate of the Americans with Disabilities Act at the local community level. And it's in 2 ways in particular. She maintains a complaint process.
Right.
So if an individual finds that they're having trouble accessing a town program, building, or
and this
service.
is town things, not
It's town
it's not
things.
private.
It's not private,
right.
no.
Okay.
These are town things. So if they have problems with access, they should call her about it.
I was lucky. I went to your last meeting, and I really enjoyed it, actually. And I met her there. She was at the meeting. She's always at that meeting, or is she?
She will be.
Okay. Great.
She's new, and she replaces Dr. Lloyd Gelano, who's head of the Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Relations Department. He was formerly our ADA coordinator and did a really good job in that.
And what's her name?
Caitlin Hayes.
Caitlin Haynes.
Yeah.
Yes. And Caitlin comes. What her title? They call it
Community Relations Specialist, because being an ADA coordinator is only part of her job.
Okay. So she's on the. That committee. What is that? The inclusion.
Yes, diversity,
inclusion,
and community relations.
relations.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. In addition to handling complaints, she also is in charge of managing the plan that Brookline has developed to make sure that all of its buildings and programs and services are accessible. That plan was developed within 3 years after the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act in 1993. And those plans need to be checked periodically to see that they're going forward.
Is that something publicly available? Is that the plan itself?
It is.
Can we look
right.
on the website?
Yeah. I don't believe it's on the website. In fact, as you said, our commission has been recently regenerated, and that is one task that we are going to be looking into.
Yeah,
is
right.
exactly where it is and where we are in that plan.
Yeah, that was exciting. I was at the first meeting after the new, I think it was the first meeting after your new staff and new reconstituted commission.
We've had several. We were actually reconstituted in August.
Oh, okay.
So
it's
it was
good.
her
So I
first
missed it.
meeting.
Right.
Right.
That's right. Okay. That was fascinating, by the way. I really enjoyed that.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Because it was nice to know there were things you brought up that weren't just a question of disability, because you're looking for access.
Right.
And access is something that certainly, if you're in a wheelchair, if you have a cane, if you have low vision, if you have other, access is very important. But all of those things relate to various people in various ways.
Right.
So,
Right.
So it's, I mean, there's young people with carriages with children.
Absolutely,
And
right.
similar issues and
Right.
things like that. So I really enjoyed it. So about the commission, is there was there anything else on the coordinator?
I think that's pretty much it on the coordinator. Yeah.
Yeah, because the commission itself.
Yeah. The commission itself is a group of volunteers.
Right.
And our main role is to advocate for people with disabilities within the town. And it came about as a result of a town meeting vote in actually 30 years ago this month.
Oh, wow.
1986. And it was generated by Massachusetts law, which was passed in 19...
So that's prior to the ADA.
It was. Yeah. Massachusetts is really quite forward-thinking in terms of Rights of People with Disabilities Act.
Great.
Starting to pass legislation as early as 1967.
Wow.
1967, the first agency was set up.
So then, the commission now has been around for that long?
It has.
Yeah.
It has. It hasn't always been as active
Right.
as we're hoping to make it.
Great. Good news. The other one was, and this I've been involved with from the age-friendly point of view, the BETS program. I've seen it
Right.
from the transportation side. I've seen it from the age side. But you were telling me that that's changed, and it's not just an age-friendly thing.
Right.
What's happened
Right.
with that?
Recently, and this is
What is
what-
the BETS program?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Right. That's the Brookline Elder Transportation System.
Okay.
And in that program, elders who meet income guidelines and are residents and age 65 plus may apply for taxi vouchers that are highly discounted and use those for transportation. And it's run through the senior center, and there's a social worker at the senior center. Her name is Alicia Ebrat.
Ebrat, right.
Who maintains the program, and then that's who the person would call. Now, as a result of Dr. Lloyd Jeleno, who I said was formerly our ADA coordinator and is the director of the Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Relations Department, he's the one who was really instrumental in getting that program available for persons with disabilities.
Okay.
And they do not need to meet age requirements, so they can be any age, adult generally, but or teenagers too. But so the requirements there are, again, there's income requirements.
Yeah, okay.
And
Plus a
residency.
subsidy,
Yeah, residency. You must be a resident.
Okay.
And there must be some verification of disability too.
Oh, okay. Is that similar to things like with a handicap plate or a?
Yes, if you had a handicap placard, that would be one
Placard,
thing.
right.
If you receive Social Security disability pension,
Okay.
if you receive some other disability pension, if you were a client of various state agencies serving disabilities, those are example. And Alicia can help a person determine, figure out if they would be eligible.
Great. And that is available now.
It is available
That's been
now.
available before, but the new part is the disability, right?
Yes, the BETS program has been available for years.
Right, right.
But the new part is that people with disabilities with any age are eligible.
Excellent. Excellent. I imagine they can find out from the transportation people too if they were, the TRIPS group helps people with driving. They probably connect to Alicia.
Right,
also.
right, yeah.
So today we have something a little bit different because we got you out into the field, and you took us on a tour of a couple of a handicap spot, and we saw some of the interesting issues that are involved when they create handicap parking spots
Right.
on the street.
We we handle complaints, and we did get a complaint from a woman whose husband uses a wheelchair. And they were having trouble parking in commercial areas in Brookline because for him to get into the passenger side of the passenger side of the door needs to be open fully.
Right.
And we took a look at that. We found that the passenger side door is partially blocked in a lot of regular parking spaces, but as we will show,
Yeah, let's look at this first.
it's also some of the handicap spots.
So if we can bring up the video on the handicap spot.
A Brookline resident and her husband brought to the attention of the commission about a year ago that she and her husband were having trouble finding suitable parking spaces in Brookline on Harvard Street and on Beacon Street. They were having trouble because her husband uses a wheelchair. And in order for him to gain access to the passenger seat, the passenger door needed to be opened fully. And they found that because of the presence of objects in the sidewalk, they often could not open the door fully. So the commission started to take a look at this, and we found that that was true. Quite a few parking spaces on Beacon and Harvard Street do have objects in the sidewalk that prevent passenger side doors being opened fully. But to our dismay, we found that this was also true of some handicap spaces. And this particular space on Lower Beacon Street by St. Mary Street is a prime example. And as you can see, we have a large tree, there are shrubs, there is a decorative tree well fence, a curb, which is a real trip hazard, a bench, a pole. Over here on this side, there's newspaper racks, trash bins. So we wrote a letter to the Transportation Board requesting that they find an alternative location for this handicap space. It wasn't easy. This space in front could have been a space, but it has quite a few barriers, including the lamp post, bicycle rack, mailbox box. This immediate space adjacent to it is a taxi cab spot, and replacing it with this spot would not work because it's really not very accessible to anybody. We then looked at the following handicap. We're looking at the next parking spaces, and we see that they are actually also blocked. So we found that the most suitable space was actually around the corner on St. Mary Street.
That so startled me when I saw that, because nobody could get in and out of that car.
No, it was remarkable. It really was.
So what is happening around the fact that there are spaces like this in Brookline and issues?
Yeah, well, we knew of this one. We didn't know how many more
Right.
spaces there might be. So I knew of a woman named Dr. Karen Jacobs.
Right.
She's a Brookline resident. She's a professor of occupational therapy at Boston University. And I told her about this problem, and she offered her students, the help of her students. So her students surveyed the length of Beacon Street from St. Mary's to Cleveland Circle. And they have recorded the location of all the handicap spots and the degree they do or do not meet ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act compliance.
Great.
So we just received this information. So now it's time to take action on it, which we'll start to do at our meeting in December.
Great. So we're calling this what, the Beacon Street study? Or?
Yes, we could call it the Beacon Street Handicap Parking Space
Handicap
Study.
parking. Okay, great.
And in addition, next year she's offered her students to do this on Harvard Street.
Excellent.
So we're going to continue.
Excellent. Well, more to come.
Right.
More to come. I'm looking forward to
It's just an
that.
example of what work the Disability Commission can
Right.
do.
Yeah, that's great. Getting out in the field. And I
Right.
find that that all the different issues we talk about, what it is people getting out and seeing what's actually there and feeding that back to the town.
Right.
Town responds,
Right.
but it's just a question of getting that information in.
Yeah.
So volunteering it and bringing back the information is worth it.
It shows that you need continually to be vigilant and to bring the needs of people with disabilities to the attention of people, because people are well-intentioned, but they just don't always have the needs of people with disabilities foremost in their minds. So, you know, so lots of things are placed on the sidewalks without really thought.
Right.
And that's why we really need to stay.
Sometimes they're put there for good reasons, for the
They
sidewalk.
are put there for good reasons, but
Or sometimes, yeah.
Right.
So there were a couple of other access issues that my pet issues.
yeah.
But one that we both knew about and we were looking at, which was the Coolidge Corner Library. Could you tell us something about what happened there?
Well, the Coolidge Corner Library has several spaces that are not accessible to people who can't do stairs.
Right.
And
Inside, these are internal.
yes, internal, yeah. And there has been no elevator, but we've just received word recently that funds have been found, and an elevator is going to be put in there that will make all of the spaces
Excellent.
accessible. Yeah.
Excellent. And then we had another area, again, it's something that I've been doing my own little exploring around town, but the area of low vision.
Right.
So I identified a couple of things that I thought I'd ask you about, right? So one was the main library. We're going to be messing around with the libraries a little bit here. But the main library had a couple of issues. And is these things that, am I in the right areas? Are these things that you also look at as low vision?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So what I discovered talking to someone who has low vision is that when you walk in from the bright daylight into the lobby of the main library, it's dark, extremely dark at the entranceway, because the change in light from light to dark makes it very difficult to see. So that's one of the things they would report. Is that right?
Absolutely, and we'd be happy to start working
Great.
on that.
I'm sure there are tons of
Yeah.
others, but I'm trying to see how they would, whether people have the ability to
Right.
report this.
And the person that they would report it to again is Caitlin Haynes,
Caitlin.
the ADA coordinator.
All right. Caitlin,
She'll
you're gonna
pass it on to us.
You're going to get a lot of business, Caitlin. That's great. And what was the other one? Oh, there were a couple of others. Bicycles, but you can't do anything about that.
About what?
Bicycles without bells or anything on the sidewalks, or they come roaring down the street.
Well,
and they're
you
not
know,
visible,
This is an issue. We have a strong bicycle advocacy group in town, and it's important for us to participate in committees and make bicyclists aware of the needs with people with disabilities. So that's something also that we could take a look at. Requiring use of a bell, just something we'd have to think about and explore.
Some sort of
But
sound.
our
Sound becomes
participation in
important,
various
right.
committees is just so important to bring to others the attention, the needs with people with disabilities.
So, following that along, there's a new committee just formed. The committee is part of the Transportation Board.
Right.
It's an advisory committee. And the committee is called the Pedestrian Advisory Committee. It's comparable to the Bicycle Advisory Committee and the Public Relations Advisory Committee. Would that be a place? Now, I don't think it's staffed yet. Certainly, people can apply to Todd Corain if they want to.
Staff are being sought right now, and that would be a very important committee for a person with a disability to be on.
Yeah.
And if there's anybody interested, we'd really love to hear from you.
Great, because that seems to me that's the issue with pedestrians is we all have a disability when we don't have wheels.
Right.
Well, maybe. Well, I don't know. It's there's a lot of issues there.
Right.
And it's all pedestrian. It's very different from the other two.
Right.
Yeah. But that would be great.
Yeah.
The other thing was the streets.
Right. Crosswalks.
Yeah.
I think.
Crosswalks. All over town. They're all different. Some are really good. Some are really good. I mean, I've seen some where they have the sounds as you cross.
Coolidge
so
Corner.
For low vision. Yeah, Coolidge
Right.
Corner is tremendous because you know when you're crossing. It has the intermediate island. It has a lot of things and the sounds will tell you, wait, or don't. Well,
Right.
they're really just sounds. They're not so much. Some towns I've been in, I've actually heard them use words. And maybe in
Well, I think there are words.
Are there words?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And something else for people with low vision that people don't necessarily notice, and the DPW, Brookline's DPW has been very good. Anytime they redo an intersection and include curb cuts, they put a rectangular plate in the ground. It's yellow and it has little bumps all over it. That is so a person with low vision feels it with their feet when they approach the intersection.
Yeah, that's really good because for both bicycles, cars, people making turns,
Right.
to know that you're on the sidewalk, and,
Right.
and where and I didn't know that. I always thought that was for ice, so I wouldn't slip.
Yeah,
And
no.
you're saying
It's for
we don't
people with low
realize.
vision.
Absolutely,
They feel
never
it
had
with
I
their
had.
feet.
I said, oh,
Yeah.
well, isn't that nice? If it gets icy, it won't slide too much.
Yeah. So DPW, as I said, has been doing a really good job at
Yeah.
that. Another issue people have anywhere along the green line is crossing the tracks, however. And the MBTA could often do a better job at making that surface smoother. It's particularly difficult for people with wheelchairs, but there are quite a few bumps that a person with low vision might miss.
Right.
So there somewhat can be a trip hazard.
So one other area, playgrounds.
Playgrounds.
Playgrounds
Yes.
and parks.
Yes. There is equipment in a number of the playgrounds that can be used by children with varying levels of ability,
Okay.
and including children who would generally use a wheelchair.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So the way to find out where they are, they're located in several different playgrounds.
Right.
Be to contact the recreation department.
Okay, parks and
Right.
recreation.
Recreation.
Recreation. Right.
Yeah. It's now Parks and Open Space, and Recreation is a separate
That's
department.
Melissa Batista.
It's Lisa Paradis.
Oh, Lisa Paradis.
Yeah.
Paradis.
Right.
That's what it is.
Right.
I saw her at a meeting also, but not about this.
Right.
But that would be great because that's so because the parks now, we got a park show too, but the parks are really being redone, and each of the areas redone. You would hope they would include accessibility.
Yeah. No, I think access in the parks has generally been thought of for quite a long while.
Yeah, that's great. So now I usually, as we come to the last part of the show, I give an opportunity for you to express anything that you really consider you want important to get out. So I will give you the opportunity, but I feel that I can butt in.
Okay.
Once in a while.
Well, we really would like to hear from people about what access issues people with disabilities have. Hear from people themselves or their family members. We are focusing on access to not only buildings but programs and services, but we could deal with transportation issues, housing issues, employment issues, and so forth. We really would like to hear from people about what issues they are having.
Great. So that's not private though. Or is it?
It could be private.
It could be private.
Yeah, yeah.
So in other
because
words,
the Americans with Disability Act covers really any place where the public can go.
Yeah, that's great because
Right.
one of the things I've discovered is that nobody, but nobody really knows who to ask because I've asked various people, and now there's focus. There was always the ADA coordinator, but now we have someone brand new with energy and
Right.
and it's something that you're also focusing on and bringing to the fore.
Right.
So.
And she, of course, would be focusing on town buildings and programs, but the commission also can
Okay.
as you said, on
Yes.
the private
Okay.
entities, restaurants, and so forth.
Oh, I've got it. So ADA is town and public
Yeah, the ADA
transportation and public
coordinator.
buildings.
Yes.
And
Our
because
commission-
that's ADA.
our
and
commission,
the commission
yeah.
is open-ended for the town.
Right.
Supportive, and somewhat advocacy, I would guess.
Absolutely.
It has to happen.
Absolutely.
So that's great. Because
Yeah.
I saw you at the commission working on streets that were changing and that street crossings and everything else. And there were private areas that were involved in that somewhat.
Yes, we've also taken complaints or been interested in handling complaints about entrance to banks, restaurants.
Okay, so now my
Right.
pet, well, we only have a little time, but one of my pet things that I did is I walked around town for the Age-Friendly Cities Committee, and looked for automatic door openings, and found much more than I expected, missing a lot too, and those are all on the Brookline Can website if people want to look at that.
Right.
But what I did find is some of them that seemed to be fine, a wheelchair wouldn't work because you can't get, most of them you can. I mean, they think that through. But there's many of the automatic doors that would be fairly difficult to both get the door open and then get to the door. Or the door would open into the chair in some cases. Very rare. I mean, it was only a small.
Yeah.
And those are noted on the website, so people
okay.
look at it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Hopefully,
yeah.
if it's not up to date, people should report
Right.
to the website because
Right.
there's the opportunity to tell them.
I should say, unfortunately, automatic door openers are not required.
No, I know.
Yeah, it's really nice. And in terms of banks, some of them have them and some of them don't.
Well, maybe we can change that.
Yeah. A little pressure can help sometimes.
Yes. Yeah, I think, well, the advocacy committee, all of the various volunteer groups in town, and they work together and they work with the town. And,
Yes.
and I've noticed that, like with street lighting. We've done work from Brookline Can with street lighting. And Brook Online has available on it things like street lighting, sidewalks, etc., where if someone sees something, say something, not,
Yes.
this is different. But if they see something and report it to Brookline, to the DPW, not surprisingly, but they react and they will respond as to what they will do, and usually they'll get it done and tell you about it
Right.
within a reasonable time.
Yeah.
And if not, you know why. So that's good. So I think we're reaching the end of the show.
We also have are going to be listing non-Brookline resources. By non-Brookline, I mean they're not just for people concerning Brookline. They're statewide or else federal resources, and we're going to be listing those at the end of the show.
Oh, okay, great. Yes, look slowly. They will be available on the credit right after the credits, so that and they go where they're going fairly slowly. And if not, you can certainly stop it and look at them. But it's an impressive list of resources.
Yes, and that's only some of the main ones.
Yeah. Well, I was impressed anyway. So we're reaching the end. I want to thank you.
You're welcome.
For
I'm
raising
pleased to
our
be
awareness.
Here. Pleased to be here.
And I want to remind everybody the show will be next Wednesday following Grandstanders, or next Wednesday at 7 o'clock is when it'll be aired. On the 22nd is when you'll be seeing this, but you'll also be able to see it on the Twitter and Facebook accounts of Brookline Can and on the Brookline Can website. Thank you.